Good afternoon and welcome to Find Your Sparkle with Jen, where you'll be inspired, informed, and influenced. I'm your host, Jennifer Stewart, owner of Jazz Potential and creator of Find Your Sparkle. And today I'm extremely excited to have with me my friend, Lily Nava-Nicholson, all the way from, I think you're in Idaho now. Did you just recently moved there,
yes,
right?
Boise, Idaho, Jen.
Oh my gosh. And you had quite a move there. So I want to say welcome to you. I'm so excited that we finally have gotten this opportunity to be together for this interview. Lily, I know that you are an intuitive life and success coach. You're also a book writing coach. You're also a beautiful, amazing artist who I absolutely love the work that you do. And you really love to help women blend their skills and talents into a tangible business. But you've also have that 9-to-5 experience, and you've worked as a paralegal for decades, and that visual artist of you kind of, you said kind of polar opposites, right? But now you're finally kind of pulling everything together. So I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here. So let's get to know Lily a little bit and what makes you you. So give us a little bit about, where you're from, how you grew up, what kind of things are important to you.
Hey, Jen. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for having me. Find Your Sparkle is just so close to my heart and my journey and my vision. So believe it or not, I grew up in the Bronx, lost my Bronx, New York. So I'm from the block, and then, I think as a child and in my teens, art was always a go-to for me. And I wrote poetry. And they say that the traumatized child turns out to be like a creative adult. It's so true, because I think everything I went through growing up, kind of a latchkey kid type of thing. But the flip side of that is myself and my siblings, we're like amazing people. We are like so productive, and we're like these unicorn people, and we're like, we don't even know how we got where we're at. So kind of humble beginnings. Then as the years went by, I began my legal career, and I got back to art. And a little bit of a story, I was kind of avoiding my art, and my sister went and got me a canvas and some paint, and she said, "Here, I'm done waiting for you to do something." So, and what's so funny is that was in 2004, and she dragged me kicking and screaming to this painting with spirit class. Meanwhile, I'd already painted. I was self-taught. And so the idea of someone teaching me something didn't really sit well with me. But anyway, I went there, and they were painting to music, blew open the doors for me. I was
Wow.
once again with my beloved art. So, and it was just glorious. And then again, as the years went by, I was curating art exhibits, creating art. I was coaching artists as well, because because of my legal background, I was very adept at the business of art. Okay, so fast forward to 2017, 2018, it came to me that I was to be this go-to person, and doing these readings, I was able to do these intuitive art readings and help people get unstuck, clear emotional blocks. And the really magical thing is I was already doing it back in 2004 when I was painting. And that's how the art coaching started, because when I was painting, people would watch me, and then the other artists, they'd come over and they'd be like, "Lily, what do you think about it?" They started calling me over to their paintings to ask.
That's interesting. I love that.
Yes.
That's really cool.
Yes. So they asked me what I saw. So to kind of fast forward even more to today, I just developed a thing called the intuitive art reading. And the intuitive art reading is where my clients will create art using breath work, and then I do the reading. I basically have the ability, the gift to read the images. It's like an energy signature blueprint. And that becomes the grid, the map for our coaching.
Oh my gosh. I just want to pause for a moment, because some of our audience are not going to have a clue what you just said about the energy thing. So can you just go back and explain what you mean by that?
Yes, I can. And I know I just gave you an earful, Jen.
I love it.
Okay, so So an energy signature blueprint is you have to figure that everything is energy. Our body is energy. And if you know anything about like quantum entanglement, I know I'm kind of getting out there and woo-woo, but with quantum entanglement, what happens with one object or person or thing in one place happens in another place. So with the energetic signature blueprint, they're using their breath to create the art. So at the time they're creating the art, it's actually imprinting that breath work on the watercolor. It's a very textured paper, so everything, it's very porous. So everything is kind of received. And so what that is, it's just sort of like a stamp, sort of a thumbprint, but it's like an energy thumbprint. It is what I'm going to call it. You've heard of like aura readings. You've heard of different, it's probably not like that, but that's what it is. It's just at the moment they're doing the art, it's capturing that energy, that breath work. And because their breath is involved, it's very internal. So it's almost like the inside out. It's capturing exactly where they're at. So I hope that answers the question.
I love that. Now I want you to explain a little bit more about the breath work with that in terms of that.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't want to give away all the secret sauce, but they do breath work when they're creating the art. They use whatever tools I give them. And I'd love for your audience to just look up more about the intuitive art reading, because I don't want to give away all the magic there. Because that's kind of top secret. But think about this. If you're blowing your mind, think about what tools you might be using. And I'll just kind of keep them curious there.
Perfect. Now, I want to go back for a moment to when your sister came to you in 2004 and said, I'm tired of waiting for you. So what happened before that? You had mentioned that you had always been used art. So what happened? When did you stop art, or what happened? And did you just put it away for a little while? What was the deal there? And why did she, what was going on that helped her to, give you that nudge you needed?
Yeah, and she's still the wave maker and catalyst, and she's an amazing person, my sis. I think, being in law for so many years, I almost went to law school. So I was very caught up in my school, my corporate job, serving the attorneys, doing trial prep. I mean, this is all heavy duty critical thinking. So I was kind of more in the logical mind versus flow at that point. And I was kind of climbing the ladder in the corporate, I was a single mom raising my kids, and I needed the income. I needed to shift things up so I could provide for my kids. So, so this corporate girl was just kind of in her logic, mind, ego. And I remember making a trip to Sedona with my husband after she gave me the canvas. And I remember I was starting with oils, and after that, she dragged me to that class. And I remember bringing my oils and showing them to the teacher, because he said, bring whatever you're working on in now. And I brought it in, and he looks at me, said, don't ever bring those back here again. Oh. And I said, well, why? What did I do? And he gave us, this is the example he gave us. I know it's a little bit jarring.
Yeah.
There was another student that created a picture of a horse. Now, when you create, it's to create the vibration, the essence of the landscape, the essence of the animal, the essence of the person. So when you're not capturing that vibration and that emotion, paintings, good paintings have three qualities: the mystery, the rhythm, and it evokes it doesn't answer the questions. Okay. So when I brought that in, it was just this oil, plein air landscape. It was boring. It was very boring. So he's like, don't ever bring that back in here again, because it didn't have those three qualities.
Okay.
So that's where listening to the music and sitting in this class, observing it, like I said, it blew the doors open. And her giving me that canvas, that was the catalyst. Meeting this master artist was a catalyst. I hope that answers your question. A little bit of went down the rabbit hole there.
No, that's great. I think these are important things, because people, you never know, as you never know what part of your story someone needs to hear. And that reminds me of, while you were doing that corporate thing that we're so conditioned to do with society, have the job and forget that creativity side of you, because that's you don't have time for fun. You have to stay true to your calling, do that corporate thing so you're successful. What was happening inside when you were missing that part of you because you were so focused?
I'm doing some deep breathing here, Jen, because going back to that time, I'll tell you, I got ill.
Yeah.
I had lots of health problems,
I got chills, just so you know.
Yeah. No, I kind of did too. Just honestly, lots of health problems. And there were many years where it was very painful inside out. And I remember, between and the thing is, so what I started to do was to break away from the legal stuff. I got my art website up. I started going to art retreats. I started painting like a mad woman. If I couldn't sleep at night, I would go into my studio 2, 3 in the morning. I used to love to paint at night. I used to have this mantra: I love to paint at night when the rest of the world is asleep. Like, there was something so intimate for me about that time, that zone. It was like I stepped into this enchanted zone, and there's nobody else in the room, just me, in my home studio. So once I stepped into that magic, I was kind of addicted, just to say, I needed it. I think I needed it as much as people needed to see what I had to say and to express. And over the years, it became very evident to me that there was a soulful, magical, whimsical quality to my art. And so I knew I was on the path I was supposed to be.
Oh my goodness. Now, what did you learn from that experience when you came back into being into your calling, where that whole the creative side of you became a prominent part of your life again? What would you say to people who are so serious about their life that they've forgotten about that?
Well, and that's sort of like being talked out of my magic. And I talk about that in my book, Rediscover Your Magic. I, in essence, talked myself out of my magic. So it's not always someone else that's imprinting us with these negative things, these heavy things. It's sort of like I wasn't giving myself permission. All I had to do was just go get the canvas and go paint. I just wasn't doing it. And why? It's because I was caught up in this rabbit hole, this spiral of this corporate stuff, studying, going to school, getting my degree. Because even once I had my paralegal degree and certificate, I was still working on extra activities to enhance. Because again, remember, I was going to go to law school.
Right, exactly. This is a great point to have a little break. We're going to be right back. You're listening to CIOE, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, just before break, Lily, you were talking about rediscovering your magic and getting back into that creative side of you, which ultimately led to your fabulous book, which I'd love for you to hold up a copy of that, the artwork you designed yourself. And I mean, to me, that I said before we were starting, I wish that I had have brought my copy of the book, because I would love nothing more to be able to open it and reference some of it. But you did the artwork for that, which is just, it speaks volumes. So talk a little bit about, how did that all come to be? What made you decide that you had to get this book out there?
Well, as a coach, Jen, many people, they can read my posts, they can listen to my lives, but yet they're hesitant. So for me, I gave it some thought, and I thought I need to be more vulnerable, and maybe getting out a book for my ideal client that would speak to them and tell them, what is it like to coach with me? So this book was created for my ideal client, telling them this. So this is like one-on-one coaching with me. So it takes you through, do you second guess your intuition? Turn off that inner critic. There's all these chapters that are kind of challenging the reader and kind of answering the questions, because they're feeling stuck, because they're like me. Remember, my ideal client, they're those corporate girls that went through the same thing that I did. So they're going to pick up my book And, right away I'm throwing rocks at the joy-stealing day job,
Yeah.
like yeah. So that's kind of who it's for. And it's really to give people an inside view of who Lily is and why me.
Now, I want to ask you a question because this is something that I have been learning and stepping out of my comfort zone to be more vulnerable. Let's talk about that, because it's essential, but it can also be pretty scary too. So can you share some of the experience you had with learning to be more vulnerable?
It's a great question for me, because before I wrote Rediscover Your Magic, probably about 3-4 years ago, I started to write a book about growing up in the Bronx. And my mom had a mental illness, and she was probably, I would say, omitted from my life at like age 7 or 8. And that was like an influence on my life.
Oh my
So,
God. Yeah.
and my dad raised us five kids. And that's why I said it's like we're all unicorns. I don't even know how we did it without a woman running things. I guess we're awesome. So, and it's a really good question, because there was a book I wanted to write, and we're Italian. So growing up, my friends would come knock on the door. We lived in the projects in the Bronx. And my mom, when she was checked in, and I call it checked in and not checked out, she was always, "Hi, yes, Lily can come out and play. Do you guys want some cookies?" So I tagged my mom in my mind, because this memory, with this tagline called The Cookie Giver. So in my mind, the only time my mom was normal was this cookie giver lady. Okay, so in my book, there's a chapter called Imagination, Influence, and Intuition. Now, the reason, and I was going to write a book called The Cookie Giver, but I couldn't do it. Why? Because I kept crying. I could not
Get past it.
I couldn't get past it. So when the time came to write this, I went into the Cookie Giver manuscript, and because I had some chapters laid out, and I thought, okay, you know what? I know in my heart, intuitively, I knew there was going to be a place in this book for me to be vulnerable, to tell people about this. So it was very healing for me. It was kind of purging that memory. The good news is I did get reunited with my mom back in 1999 after not seeing her from age 7, 9. So because again, the mental illness, and she was not fit to care for us. So that's the good news. That is the good news. I did get to see her and then help her in her later years. But, there's those things that are imprinted on us. And I think being vulnerable, it allows us to release it, look at it, address it, shine a light on it, and just get some closure on it. Just
Right.
so yeah, so that was my lesson. And that chapter, I cried a little bit in that chapter too.
So how therapeutic was it for you to get this book done and completed?
Oh my gosh. If you've seen any of my posts, it really allowed me to let the big goofball in me come out, because what I've had so much fun with is just posing with my book. And I know your viewers can't see me, but I'll go this with my book, and I'm holding it, I'm hugging it like it's a baby. I am just so proud of myself, because I'm the gal that pretty much was a latchkey kid. It was a challenge finishing high school. It was a bigger challenge finishing college, raising my kids. Then my art, obstacle after obstacle. And so for me, this is a big accomplishment for me. And this speaks volume. And a book, I tell my clients, a book is a credential. It holds you out as an expert in your industry. You become this go-to person, if you're handling the marketing properly. And even if you don't, really, to me, the whole thing is, should we be obsessed with hitting bestseller? I'm not obsessed with it. I think this book hit hot, new release, #1 in business mentoring and coaching. So that was awesome. But I tell all my clients that just get it done. You're going to feel so, so, so good.
Oh my goodness. So you had mentioned, getting through obstacle upon obstacle upon obstacle. I know that a lot of us have many obstacles. So I would love for you to share some of the ways and some of the tools that you, for yourself personally, have used to overcome some obstacles.
Absolutely. And that is another, you ask good questions.
Thanks.
So one of the challenges of being an entrepreneur is building your empire and having this sort of this side hustle while working full time. So one of the things that I've done is I'm sort of like a marathon project girl. I chunk time. I have to chunk the time. And just like I did when I created my paintings, I kind of use the same practice and methodology I used in creating my paintings, where I go in, I do a 2-hour session. Or I might go in and I might be in there all day. I might be there in the middle of the night. But now what I'm doing is I'm still working full time. I've got an exit date on the calendar soon.
Yay.
And then, so really it's just the time chunking. And I am adamant about when I start a project, I finish it. I finish it so I'm accomplished. Because you figure there's how many 4 quarters in the year, okay? Even if you've got 20 things per quarter that you want to get done, pick the top 3, okay? And then maybe if you get one project completed, launched, and out to the public, and it's an income producing activity, you're golden. So that's kind of what I do to kind of stay afloat and keep things nice and fresh.
Awesome. I love that. Now, who has been your biggest influencer in your life to get you to where you are now?
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's really hard to answer. Oh my goodness.
Top 3.
Top 3. I'm going to have to say myself simply because it's true, because I'm so like, there's times where I'm up here and my husband will come up and he'll knock on the door. Are you hungry? Do you need something to drink? And he'll look at me, he'll go, he'll whisper, he'll go, I don't know how you do it. I don't know. So I think me, simply because I've been my own cheerleader my entire life. I've had to. So even when there wasn't someone believing, and even when I didn't want to believe, I had to. I knew it. I knew I had to do that. Other than that, I know more recently, there was a coach, his name is Ryan Nadell, and he is just amazing. He's an amazing business coach. I worked with him for about a year, and he was a catalyst also in my writing my book. And I think there was another gentleman, Vital Germain, and he's the author of Innovation Mindset, and he's actually a fellow creative. And I met him when I was living in Las Vegas, and I connected with him again on LinkedIn, and I was watching what he was doing, and I reached out and I'm like, hey, can we talk? Because I was so interested in how he morphed from that creative to this public speaker to author. And so these 2 men were really influential in my life and me. First off.
That is awesome. So what do you do for yourself to motivate yourself? You said you are a big influencer in your own life. When you go back to when you were a child, and I think these are, some of the things that people really want to hear and need to hear, because we never know what that little tidbit of information is. How, growing up like that, how did you manage to keep yourself grounded? How did you manage to keep yourself motivated? How did you manage to say, you know what, I am going to finish school, and guess what, I'm going to go to college too, because this is who I need to be. That would be hard for a child, especially like you say, with your mom not being around for so long.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about that.
Well, I think being a latchkey kid, because we were the kids that kind of raised ourselves. My older brother made dinner. His burgers kind of looked like meatballs, but we were kind of Italian, so we really didn't care. We just like eat it, I think because there was no one doing things for us, we became very independent. So we kind of grew up that way. So even though we came upon even though I had obstacles in my life, whether it was trying to go back to school to finish my degree while raising my kids, working full time, that was imprinted in me. I was given that curse and that gift of being independent at a very young age. So that has stayed with me. And I think I'm just very driven because no one did it for me. Mm-hmm. And so as an adult, when something became challenging, I just went back to that thing I was imprinted with. So you see how there's that positive influence that I just knew. I go, okay, well, it's only me. I'm the only one here. Who else is going to do this? So I really think I think it was a blessing.
That is really fabulous. I'm just looking at the clock and we're almost out of time. So I want to talk a little bit about what is your future? What do you have for clients? What do clients get? I know you want to talk a little bit about some of the exciting things that you have coming up before we go.
Oh, absolutely. Like I mentioned earlier, we usually start with the intuitive art reading. My coaching packages offer the intuitive art reading. That becomes the roadmap, kind of the grid, and that gives me insight into where they are energetically, because the whole reason they are coming to me is to energetically align their path with their calling. Now, people, while they have skills and talents, they don't always know how to blend them. So, and because I've done it myself, meshing all these different things that I do that are in my wheelhouse, I can help them do that. There's that, and then part of that is a thing called the Idea Incubator. That's where the real magic happens. They get I get an intake form. They give me everything they're good at, and then I come up with services and offers that they can actually launch. They leave the session with workable, launchable, marketable products. And let's see what else. I offer art coaching, the business of art. They're gonna have to go to my website because there is so much. And let's see, my newest offer is an online book writing course that will be launched, I believe, the first week in September.
That is incredible. It's been such a pleasure. And I'd love to continue this conversation for a minute when we close here. But before we go for the station today, can you tell us in 5 seconds what makes you sparkle?
Oh my gosh. I think the fact that I know I sparkle and I own it.
I love it. I love it. It has been an absolute pleasure having you here today, Lily. And remember, everyone, go out and do something that makes you sparkle today and every day. And we're going to put Lily's information in the description. Have a fabulous day, everyone. You're listening to CIOE, and we will catch you next time. Bye for now. Welcome to a quick bonus section with Lily, because of course we could sit here for hours, I think, Lily, and talk, but I just wanted to give you an opportunity just to share some of the things that we didn't have a chance to on Find Your Sparkle with Jen that was being for the radio station. So I know that you have a few more things coming up, and I know you're super excited about your book course that's coming up, but can you talk a little bit more about things and ways that you love to help people?
Oh, God. Another good question, Jen. So I think one of my favorite things is helping people use their voice, find their. I know it sounds strange. We were all born with a voice, but not everyone advocates for themselves, especially women, especially that are in the corporate atmosphere. They tend to, it's kind of like a man's world in some of these corporations. So it's kind of helping them with their voice, mastering, and it's really mindset, harness their energy, and really stop. And this, you're going to like this. Tell them to stop killing their original ideas, like stop belching them. Like many of the people I come across, they're just so stuck in this not good enough stuff, and they believe.
Oh my gosh.
And they just stay. It's so, in essence, they're talking themselves out of their magic. So kind of that's what I'm helping them with, just to kind of find their way back home. And I'm going to call it their home frequency.
I love that. I love that. And I mean, you and I, we're both unicorns. So that's a draw. That's a draw right there.
Yes.
I love, can you leave your website, say your website for people who are listening, who maybe don't have a chance to look or to hear what it is. I want to just give everyone as much information that they can, how to find you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jen. That would be www.thepathfindercode.com.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we sign off for today?
Oh God, there's so much. We don't have time.
I know we could do
Oh,
another episode in another hour, probably.
we're gonna have to. Well, I just want to thank you for doing what you do and just being of service and just putting my voice out there and the voices of other women and other people so they can share their message. I just appreciate you having the platform and inviting me. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Lily. It has been my privilege and honor having you here. And I know that something that you say will definitely resonate with someone out there. And I loved your book. It was definitely, no matter how many times that you hear something or read something, you can always find a tidbit of information to take. And just the way that everyone presents it is different. So it's really, I love the way that you presented all of the different things in your book, and I highly recommend it. So thank you so much for being here. It is, again, it is my privilege, and I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thank you, Jen.
Thanks. Have a great day. Bye for now, everyone. Now, we just stopped for a moment, but then Lily and I carried on a conversation that was really authentic that I thought would be worth having a little bit of it recorded. And it's all about, that being vulnerable and sharing our stories. So, where Lily is now is not where she was a while ago. And, we all have a past, and our stories are the things that shape us, but we never know what kind of little tidbit or information might be able to help serve someone else. So how would you like to respond to that one, Lily?
Well, I know we were just talking, Jen, and what I shared with you was, while we were doing the interview, that I could tell as I became more vulnerable, I kind of went into my heart space, my chest, and I could hear the inflections in my voice change. I could see how, even though I've released and let go of that stuff, I can see how if you hold that space for it, it can still reside there. So that's why it's just so important to get that energetic alignment and really be honest with yourself. And I believe for me, getting to know myself in this way, in this vulnerable mode versus where I'm kind of on top of the world mode, where I found my sparkle, I've rediscovered my magic. It's important to know how that feels because I believe it gives us that contrast. So we know, okay, that's that place that doesn't feel good, but I go there sometimes, but guess what? I know how to get out of it. I know the path out because I believe.
And you know what? You just nailed it right there, Lily, because that's the key, right? Some of us get stuck and we have a really hard time getting out of it. But being aware, it doesn't mean that you don't go back into those places. It does not mean that at all. It doesn't mean everything is rainbows and sparkles and unicorns all the time, because life is not like that. But you nailed it when you said, when you get there now, you know how to get yourself out and you recognize it, right? It's that feeling when you feel the energy, you feel that different of feeling. So it's like, okay, all right, now I'm paying attention. All right. And being mindful, asking the questions, okay, what's happening here? Right. Oh, okay. I'm not really digging how this is feeling right now. So what's going on? And really getting to the core of what it is, and then it doesn't have any power over you.
Absolutely, because when you're in that space and when you're holding the space of those lower vibrations and you stay stuck in that, you're giving it permission and you're giving your power away in essence. So you put it this way, Jen, we know better. We know better now, and we have the capacity to see far more than we believe we can.
Oh my gosh, is that ever true? You know what? I think of this very, very often. When we come into the world, we're totally open.
Yes.
And then all of society and well-meaning adults and people in our lives put all of these limitations into our mind. But, it really, I think back to, my granddaughter's here right now. And, I can think back to when my kids were little, those toddlers, like, you're not the boss of me. I'm in charge of me. And you know what? They're right. Right? I mean, we temporarily have to be their, guardians, but realistically, on an energetic level, when you think about it, they know exactly how they're supposed to live. We're the ones that kind of mess it up a little bit for them.
Yeah. They're owning their power.
So think like a toddler and remember that you're in charge of yourself, right?
And also think like an artist too.
Oh,
See, you can always go back into that zone. So whether it doesn't have to be painting, it can be anything. Everybody has a zone, a place that is their thing, that's their jam, that thing that lights them up. Maybe it's flower arrangements. Maybe it's mosaic, working with glass, or it could be just about anything creative. I made a coloring book for people. I flipped my paintings, Mindset Magic coloring book. People, adults that need to zen out and chill out, color.
absolutely. It's one of my favorite things. And it's funny, a few years ago when the adult coloring books started coming out, I bought all of my girlfriends and a lot of my friends coloring books, and I think there was one friend who actually kept it and used it. The rest of them thought that I was crazy, which is okay. But now, now it's becoming more acceptable. But I think part of that was that's child's play, but it's not. We forget to have fun and to play. That's part of why we're here, is to have fun and enjoy the ride.
Well, and it's, you hit on something right there it's that inner child.
Mm-hmm.
See, I mean, no matter how old you are, you're still that little kid inside, because as an adult, it's almost like we've got to go back and get that little girl, that little boy by the hand to go, come on, little Jen, come with me. You're okay. You're safe. You're safe.
Yes.
Because see, you can be emotionally stuck at age 5 or age 10 or wherever this trauma or this imprint happened to you. Like for me, it was, my mom leaving my life. So where was I stuck? I was probably stuck at 9. And then as things went on over the years, I was stuck again at 17. And so you've got to kind of go through all these different layers here. And, you're vulnerable. You're so raw. It's so real while you're in it. So fast forwarding to who we are now, it's so important to go back to that inner child and look at how proud you should be of yourself, because look at all those challenges you got through. And it's okay to come out and play. And like I said, go back and get that little Jen, that little Lily,
Mm-hmm.
and hey, come on over here and sit with me. You're safe now, and you're all grown up, and you've given not only little Lily and Jen permission to play, but you're giving adult Lily and Jen permission to play.
Absolutely. And you know what? Play is fun.
And
fun is a good thing.
Yes. Yes.
That's what we forget, I think, as adults. We forget that, what, it's okay to be fun, have fun, and to be creative. And that's an important part of life and why we're here. Well, this was fun. I'm so glad that we get to have this little extra.
Absolutely. And great energy, Jen. Your questions are amazing. It's almost like I can't not open up with these nosy questions you're asking. It reminds me of me, because I ask nosy questions. I'm very probing.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to us having another conversation in the future. And, I hope that I hope that your artwork is in your website, because I absolutely love it. And I'd love for people to see some of the beautiful, beautiful work that you do.
There is another website, Jen, if I could share that.
Yes.
The art website is www.lilynavagallery.com.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay. We're going to put those links in when we post this. So thank you again, and have a fabulous day. And we will talk to you soon, friend. I love you.
Thank you, Jen.
Thanks. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.